right. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I want to make sure that you guys can see me and hear me okay. I'm going to check out my comment section over here. Again, making sure all of you can see me and hear me for our Spa Business Boost today. Yes. Okay, perfect. There we are. So, this is our weekly Spa Business Boost that we host right here inside of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. And in the past weeks, we've gone through and done a little more formal trainings. I've got some slides, I've got some resources. And today I want to talk to you a little bit more, just from my own personal experience, a little bit more about leadership and developing leadership as a skill. How are you able to become the leader that you need to be? What are the pieces that you need in place? And I feel like I'm kind of going along this journey with you. We may all be in different phases of business, different seasons of business, but leadership as a skill is something that it's always evolving. It's always growing. It's always there to develop. Similar how in aesthetics, the technology is constantly evolving. So we always can learn something new. As your company grows and grows and grows, the leader that I was in my company 10 years ago is very different than the leader that I am today. So, I feel that that's an important topic to talk about because we are moving right along in 2024. We're sort of in that phase of the year where that new year energy has kind of dissipated. So a lot of people have settled back into their old patterns. They've sort of lost sight of the goals and intentions that they've set for themselves this year. And good morning. Hey, Charlie. Good morning, Lynn. So if that is you, if you have lost sight of your goals and your intentions that you've set for the year, know that that is a normal thing. And it's instead of just kind of easing back into your old patterns, I want you to push the reset button. And especially if January didn't go as planned, let's restart. Let's shift that energy. We have plenty of time to make our goals a reality this year. Now, one of my personal goals that I'm focusing on for myself is to listen to 12 books this year, and not just listen to them, but actually apply what I've learned. And that's the thing, right? We can listen to a book, we can learn, we can get great ideas, but if we don't actually take that information and apply it to our business, it's not benefiting us. We're not getting an ROI on our time spent taking in that information. Okay. And I know that a book a month, that may not seem like a lot to some. Maybe it seems astronomical to some. But, for me, pre-kids, not so much of a big deal. But post-kids and, 2 companies later, yes, a book a month is a lot. And so what I've done is I am a huge Audible fan, and I've committed to listening to 30 minutes a day when I do my treadmill, and I'm just listening there. And I'm actually off to a great start. I've completed one book, and I'm probably 3/4 of the way through the second. So the first book that I finished was A CEO Only Does 3 Things. And this is absolutely relevant to any CEO that is wanting to learn about leadership. So it's helping you to understand tangibly how to shape and develop culture on your team and in your company. And the thing about leadership is, and I'm learning this more and more, how to break it down into tangible tasks. But leadership and culture, teaching that can be kind of squishy. It can feel kind of intangible. It's something that it's like, okay, I know that, but how do I teach that? How do I communicate that to somebody else? We don't know how to explain it properly, right? So a focus of myself this year is really immersing myself in leadership programs, in books. I actually just attended Muster, which is a leadership conference put on by Echelon Front out in San Diego, which was incredible. Highly recommend any of the trainings that those guys do. They're the authors of Extreme Ownership, which was a book that I was really obsessed with last year. Anyway, I lost my train of thought there. So a question that all CEOs should be asking themselves is, how do I grow into the leader that I need to be? And if you, like me, believe that leadership is a skill, something that can be developed, a better question is, how can I, week by week, day by day, how can I put the work in so that I'm continually working to master the skill of leadership? All right. So, another book that I'm reading, the one I'm reading right now, and I'll put these links to these books in the comments section here after, so anyone can check them out if you're interested. It's called Surf When You Can, and it's Lessons in Life, Loyalty, and Leadership from a Maverick Navy Captain. And so it's this guy, his name's Brett Crozier, and he's a fighter pilot. And he went through some challenging times during COVID while he was the captain of an Air Force carrier. And so he's talking about those experiences and really focusing on the power of kindness, the importance of teamwork, the value of standing up for what you believe in. And what I like about it is that he's giving these really tangible examples that helps me understand, how can I apply this in my company? How could I apply this in spa? How could I take this with this situation or that situation and model the way that he handled some sort of conflict? And this morning when I was listening on the treadmill, that's my thing, he was telling this story about an interaction that he had with a sailor. And they're talking about Clydesdale horses. You know, those like big, strong, I think they're like the Budweiser horses, those big, strong horses. And he's talking to the sailor, and the sailor asked him if he knew how much a Clydesdale horse could pull, how much weight. And he said no. And so then the sailor told him the answer. And it was 2,000 to 8,000 pounds that one horse could pull. I thought, wow, that's a lot, right? I mean, I know how much I weigh and it's nowhere near that. So I'm thinking about this horse of, what their own strength, what they can do. And then the follow-up question was, do you know how much two Clydesdales can pull together? And, his answer, his estimate was, kind of double that. He thought, okay, is it 4 to 16,000 pounds? And the answer was 18,000 pounds to 32,000 pounds if they are a well-trained pair. So a trained pair of Clydesdales can pull 4 times the max of what they could do on their own. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That's so cool. But then I was like, well, that actually makes so much sense when we're looking at that in business, right? We see that phenomenon in business when we are working together, when we are working as a team. I know what I can do with my team is tremendously more than what I'm capable of doing on my own. So we have someone, when we have a program called Growth Factor, and we're working with a lot of CEOs in there. And we have a very particular person that we're kind of onboarding. And so we see a lot of the same type of issues coming up over and over again, right? So we're onboarding them. We hear their story. They started as a solo. They grew relatively fast. They're working really hard to get out of the room. They might be in the room, a couple days a week, but it's a challenge. They're trying to be the CEO of the company, but if they're in the room, it's that like whole working on the business versus working in the business. And their goal is to hit that $1 million mark, but they're just stuck between the $30,000 and $50,000 mark. And that is the person that we see all of the time coming in. You're in that spot, you're stuck. You've got it to a really tremendous point, right? That is like, if you're running a business that you are between the 30 to 50,000 a month mark, you're doing great. You're doing better than most people out there. But if your vision is to cross that million, it's really hard to get past that point on your own. So if we're looking at this Clydesdale analogy, that is the spa CEO pulling on their own. That's what she can do, right? And she is strong, she is capable, she is intelligent, but she's also human, right? We have kids and loved ones and other things apart from work that we're interested in to create fulfilling lives. And so when for a spa that is at that point, that $30,000 to $50,000 mark, when you add the spa manager, that is when the magic happens. All right. So the spa manager working in partnership with the CEO, supporting the vision of the CEO, can make that spa move 4 times faster. And I would argue in many cases, even faster than that. So the thing is, though, what do? We hire someone, we have them work at the front desk, and they're doing the front desk, they're doing reception, and they're handling a few administrative tasks, and we call them the spa manager. That is not a spa manager, right? So it's really, really important to understand what does this role actually mean? And how do you, as the CEO, lead? How can you grow into the person that can lead a manager, that a manager can understand your expectations, your vision, your culture that you're wanting to create in that company, right? So let's look at what a spa manager actually does. What is that role that they are fulfilling? Well, they're managing the team. They're handling day-to-day operations, right? So your opening and closing procedures, you probably have a lot of these written down in checklists. You've got your front desk. If you have a front desk that does some of these, you've got your providers doing some of these. The spa manager is making sure that those boxes are getting checked. They're also making sure that if there's any client concerns or patient concerns, that they're addressing and resolving those, right? They're handling any conflict that comes up among the team. They're managing the team schedules. They're, in some cases, working on team development. They're maintaining and enforcing company protocols. They're monitoring KPIs and keeping you, the spa CEO, informed of any shifts or changes, things that we need to pay attention to. They're executing the marketing and promotional plans that you, the CEO, have created the vision for. They're monitoring and managing inventory. You know, there's so much money that can be saved and so much cash flow that can be managed properly when you have the appropriate ordering practices. This is something that, one of our partners that we just love and sing their praises is Environ. So we're partnered with Derma Concepts, who is the US distributor of Environ products and here in the US. And they have an incredible ordering benefit where if you understand your PARs and understand what you need to go through in a month, if you do your ordering at the first of the month and get that all in rather than ordering every week or every other week, you can save, I think it's somewhere up to like 25 or 27% off of wholesale. That is profit that comes into your practice by having someone manage your inventory, understand what your PARs are, understand when to do appropriate ordering instead of just last minute, like, oh, we're out of this, we're out of that, I got to place an order real quick, right? That's not efficient use of time, and that's not efficient use of cash resources. All right. Um, in some cases, they're also, if you do have e-com set up, they're managing your e-com stores. They're managing those types of orders and shipping and all of that type of stuff. And they're a huge part of maintaining happiness among your team and really leading and creating what that culture is in your company. These are real skills that need real training to be developed properly. And if we just get this band-aid solution of, oh, I'm just going to hire someone and put them at the front desk and call them a spa manager, but I, as the CEO, haven't developed my own leadership. I haven't worked on myself to understand how to lead and motivate someone in this role so that I can step up and be the CEO of the company. And as I like to say, be the mayor of your town. Be out there getting involved in your community, getting involved in causes that you believe in, showing up for the Chamber of Commerce, building relationships with strategic partners. All of these things are going to bring lead flow into your company. They're going to help make an impact in your community. They're going to be good for business, good for culture, all of those things. But for you as the CEO to be able to be out there doing those things, generating interest, generating leads, building relationships with other companies, et cetera, you've got to have someone on site at your spa that can handle these things as a spa manager. Okay. And again, these are real skills that need real training to be developed properly. And I can speak from firsthand experience of kind of being thrown in to the spa manager role. And, I've been a spa manager, I've been a spa director, I've been a patient care coordinator, I've been an esthetician, I've been front desk. I've been a lot of different roles in my career over the past 20 years in this industry. And, it can be challenging to be thrown into a role and not really have clear expectations or clear guidance of what is it that I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't want to come across as negative in that sense, because when my first role as a spa manager, I worked for a doctor who was very open to providing me with training. He wanted to support me in any way that he could. So if there was a class I wanted to take or a conference that I wanted to go to, he was always open to it. But the formalized training for this role simply didn't exist. So everything was just kind of figuring it out, making mistakes. And it was just, on the job training, figuring it out myself. And I did help the company grow faster. I know that I did, but I always wonder, what could I have done if I had real practical training specific to the role of spa manager, if I could have someone that would help me get there faster. So that is exactly what we do over at Addo Wellness Institute. So we have a spa manager certification. We want to solve that training piece so that your spa manager can go faster, so that you can get the support that you need. So what I want you to do is take a minute, reset, take an honest assessment of your business. Where are you winning? Where are you struggling? Are you ready for a spa manager? Is that the right move for you right now in this season? And I can give you a little tip here. If you're not hitting that 25 to 30,000 per month consistently, hitting that, you're probably not ready for a spa manager. Can you have an assistant spa manager? Can you have administrative support? Absolutely. Can you have social media support? Absolutely. But where you should be focusing really is generating more sales, working on that client journey, really working on those phases of the business. Okay. If you are above that mark and you have the desire to grow more, to grow into that $1 million spa, I want you to take an honest assessment and say, am I doing what I need to be the leader. Maybe you already have a spa manager. Maybe you need a spa manager. Look at where you're at, zoom out, and really understand what is the next best step to help me as the CEO grow into the leader that I need to be, and what roles do I need in this company to handle and support what the company needs. So just a little food for thought. Let's not settle back into old patterns. All right. This is, still, we're in Q1, friends. We've got plenty of time to press the reset button, to really take action on the things that need to shift and change in our business to hit our goals, to get our business to the next level. Okay. So consider that, think about that, believe in yourself, take a chance on yourself, invest in yourself. That is what is going to help you get to the next level. All right, I am cheering for you. I wish you guys all the best, and I'll see you next week for another Spa Business Boost with Daniela.